Welcome to the Instant Speed Podcast. I'm Flank, and this is episode 16. Our guest today will be Kellen, aka Red Zone Rogue. But before we get to our awesome guest, we got some news and facts to hit you with, and we're going to start with, obviously, the bans and erratas. It's nothing new here, friends. I think that we're a little bit behind on these. We've had a previous video where Tariq Patel and I discussed the impact of the bans and perhaps where LSS may have gone wrong. You can check that video here within the Instant Speed Podcast Realm Network. 983 Media's got it all housed for you there. But basically, Duskblade banned everywhere. Plunder Run, Ball Lightning also banned in Blitz and Classic Constructed, but also Briar has an errata associated with her as well. In this case, it's not just that you can go ahead and pile on with the Earth tokens. No, the embodiment of Earth tokens are limited to one now. The first time you can connect with an attack action, you will get an Earth token, an embodiment of Earth token. So that is the erratas. How about ProQuest? Well, ProQuest is around the corner, friends, February 19th through March 13th. ProQuest is very important because this is your ticket in, friends, to fulfill that dream of being a pro card player. What's up for grabs? Well, obviously the Pro Tour invite for the winner of any ProQuest, but also that coveted gold foil. Yes, not cold foil. Gold foil will go to the winner, and adult cold foil heroes, amongst other things. Let's not forget the swagger and, you know, all of that wonderful lore associated to being on the ProQuest. That's also up for grabs. February 19th through March 13th is ProQuest season. Also, February Armory kits have been released. You can take a look at those. You have Cold Foil Icelander as well as the Icelander playmat. I've got my Icelander playmat and my Icelander Cold Foil. Love it. But how about the extended art Macho Grandes? Yeah, it's always fun to see what is coming up with all these cool things. And hey, ProQuest is also going to have some cool stuff up for grabs. We've seen those as well. But how about those cryptic tweets, ladies and gentlemen, that are coming out of LSS? Yes, if you follow FAB TCG on Twitter, you've noticed that there have been some cryptic tweets that have been coming out that are kind of teasing a little bit of what to expect from Everfest, which is going to be releasing on February 4th. Well, at the time of recording this, the news segment, I try to push this as close to Wednesday's publication as possible. It's currently 5:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 18th. We recorded with Red Zone Rogue yesterday, and unfortunately, we only got 3 of the cryptic tweets that we were able to sort of dissect, but here are the 6 as of right now that we've got. So take a look at those, and also, I do want to dive in right now and tell you that the Instant Speed Podcast also has a Twitter account. You want to be following 983 TV on Twitter, but you also want to be following Instant Speed Pod on Twitter, as well as myself, I suppose. But either way, friends, lots to get to with our first guest and only guest. It's episode 16 of Instant Speed Podcast, brought to you by fabdb.net. Let's meet Red Zone Rogue. This is the Instant Speed Podcast, and I'm very happy, as I always am with all my guests, but more so today, because we get to bring back Red Zone Rogue, one of my favorite people. Again, somebody whom I've met in Orlando, a caster extraordinaire, also probably one of the tip-top options for your flesh and blood content out there, be it YouTube or whatnot. So we'll get into all that stuff first, but the most important question is how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing very well. By the way, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be on, and I appreciate it. But I'm doing pretty good. It's been very busy with everything leading up to Everfest, and very exciting. So
yeah. The excitement element is you have this kind of palpable anticipation for whatever new set is coming out, and the bits and pieces, the little teaspoons that were fed every now and then. We will get into that, and I think that is definitely worth a little bit of some discussion after the break. But before that, we want to talk a little bit about Welcome to Wrath, and particularly the Farewell to Wrath, Wraith, Wrath, whatever, tournament that is going to be held, I guess, worldwide. If you have not heard of this, essentially what LSS has done, because Welcome to Wrath is technically out of print, they have announced a Welcome to Wrath I'll settle on one eventually. Whenever I say that, like Wraith or Wrath, and I'm like, I'll settle. It reminds me of my parents. Like, when are you gonna get married? I don't know why they have a thick Italian accent for some reason, but that's kind of how it is.
Are they Italian?
My father is. My
Okay.
father's Italian. My mother was born in Poland, but I always get it mostly from the Italian side. When are you gonna get married? And I'm like.
I understand that. I understand that a lot, actually. So I can relate.
Yeah, you know exactly how it feels, but I'm kind of like floating around in terms of how I want to settle down on either Wraith or Wrath. We'll get there. That said, the Welcome to Wraith tournament is a draft format wherein the winners of those tournaments will have prizes allocated to them. But the most important element of this is that if you win in your region, you will be put into I guess a raffle for a sealed box of Alpha Wraith, which at the moment is quite an expensive piece. I just want to get your thoughts real quick in terms of what this tournament means and just the significance of something like this.
I think it's really cool. Just to be completely honest, it's something that I don't think any other card game has done, at least not that I can think of, where they do like a post-release. It's almost like a pre-release, but for the set sunsetting. So it's weird and cool, and they have a bunch of like awesome prize support, like you said, like an alpha box of WTR, as well as like cold foil young heroes from the heroes from Welcome to Wraith, and I think it's just really cool, and I think it gives people a chance to finally draft and play the set in sealed, where otherwise they wouldn't have been able to, because the set kind of launched before the game got big, and then we just immediately went into like COVID, and not a lot of people were able to play this. And even me, someone who's like super entrenched into Flesh and Blood, I've played a number of drafts, but not a ton, especially compared to other things that I've drafted. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, the fact that it's basically, I don't want to say it's a blast from the past, because the game's not all that long ago, but like you mentioned, a lot of people got in at a period of time where maybe there wasn't necessarily as many outlets for people to play limited format with this particular set. So I'm excited, and what we want to do here at the Instant Speed Podcast is kind of prepare you, the viewer, to maybe be better suited at this format, because like Red Zone Rogue said, this is probably the least played format, the least experienced format. It's one of the earliest, so it's nice for people to be able to have a little bit of a heads up. So what I did, I say we sometimes, when I say Instant Speed Podcast, it makes it sound like there's like this gigantic team of, when in reality, Instant Speed Podcast is Flake and my producer Mark Theus, who has a million other things to do, so he's included. But you're on the team, and I sent out, I fired off a flare to everybody I possibly knew in the community in short notice to get a response. And I asked 5 basic questions regarding drafting this set. And you and I, Kel, are going to go ahead and just dive into some of these responses. Now, the questions in particular are as such. The first question is, what's your name? Well, that's obvious. So that was a freebie.
Is this going to be like the Monty Python bit? What is your name?
Yeah.
What is your favorite color? Yeah.
And the questions might have been a little bit more deep than that, but still. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go. We're gonna walk through all 5 questions, and then we're gonna get Kel's responses. I'm gonna tell you what mine were, but I also have some very, very important people within the community who answered, and in my opinion, their answers hold a lot of weight. So you're going to want to hear these. All right, so here are the questions. The first question was, not including legendary or majestic rarity, what is your pack 1 pick 1? Don't answer that yet, Kel. I just want to walk through the questions. That's question 1. Question 2 was including majestic rarity, pack 1 pick 1. Now keep in mind that I made sure that there's no legendaries in here, because usually legendaries is probably the first thing that you're picking, right? So
yeah, I mean, like, if not for gameplay, I mean, it's a legendary. I mean, you just kind of want to take it anyway, I guess.
Kinda. I mean, if you open up, I have a funny story about Mask of Momentum and Welcome to Wraith. I'll get to that later, but
yeah.
What is the most overrated card to draft? That is question number 3. Next is, what is your ideal choice of hero for drafting? Like if you had If you had it wide open, what would you preferably lean towards? Also, the last question, this one's a little bit more deeper in the weeds. What is your best drafting tip for Welcome to Wrath? We asked, I sent this survey out. You listening may have answered it. Nonetheless, I've got some exceptional answers. People like Tarek Patel answered, Dante Delfico, Demos, as well as Brendan Patrick, Tyler Horsepool, champion Tyler Horsepool, yourself. Great people threw their hat in the ring into this one. So we're going to get into those. I want to ask you first, Kel. Question number 1, how did you answer this? And I will counter with my own correct response. No, I'm kidding. Not including legendary or majestic rarity, what would be your pack 1 pick 1 for Welcome to Wraith?
Yeah, so before I get into this, I want to say 2 things before I get into this, so you can folks can have like a little bit of framework. My favorite class in the set, and this is going to be funny when you hear my answers. My favorite class in the set is actually Warrior, and I've also drafted an ungodly amount of Magic throughout my life. I love drafting, and so this is going to come from the experience of a drafter who's drafted just a lot. So I actually chose a card that keeps me open, because it's just a great way to stay open, and then to also if you have to pivot later, you can still use it in your deck. So I actually chose Scar for a Scar, I think, for this first one, because it's a great card. It's going to be great in any deck you play. 0 cost with the potential for go again. Tax for 4. Red Scar for a Scar specifically. So yeah, that was my pick.
Yeah, Red Scar for a Scar is what I got you down for. For myself, I believe, what did I say? My goodness, why can't I remember this? I said non-legendary, non-majestic. I'm just kind of fumbling through all the answers here. Okay, here we go. I picked Snapdragon Scalers was the...
That's a good one.
I believe that was the first one I selected, if I'm not mistaken, was Snapdragon Scalers. I thought that was a decent pick. All in all, where is... sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out over here because... it's just weird because like the platform to go ahead and actually dig through all the responses is not quite clean and clear, but we'll take it. I got myself Snapdragon Scalers as my number 1 pick, and for me, Snapdragon Scalers I feel is just the amount of giving a card go again is significantly important. And I know that equipment is fairly difficult to lock down a lot of the times, and something that's generic like Snapdragon Scalers, especially when life totals are low, going wide like this can really open the door. Having that threat there as well is quite important. But Scar for a Scar kind of takes the cake away from what Snapdragon Scalers wants to do. So a Red Scar for a Scar, I feel, is quite the punch. And the logic behind mine is the fact that going wide and offering an ability for you to utilize more cards in your hand is such a key element. But thought processes for your Scar for a Scar.
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps you open, right? Because it's a generic. It's powerful. It's going to go into any single deck that you play. Like, it doesn't matter. It's good in Warrior. It's good in Guardian, Brute, and Ninja. So, like, no matter what you end up going with, it's a card that you can play with. And it also is a card that doesn't lean you to get married to your first pick, because I think that's maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, it's a really solid card. It's common, so you see it often, and you can literally play it in whatever deck you end up with, especially if you're playing at a table with a bunch of experienced drafters who are also going to be picking like the really, really nice high pick cards. And you might have to pivot, right, if people are playing specific things next to you. So.
Yeah. Some other answers we got from this one. DM Armada agrees with me, says Snapdragon Scalers. Who else we got here? Dante Delfico, one of the best players in the world, let alone Canada, says... basically, I mean, red Drone of Brutality, but the thing is that card being banned is not seeing print in newer runs of Unlimited Welcome to Wraith. So, I mean, great card. If you do happen to be drafting out of that pool, red Drone of Brutality, I had 2 Drone of Brutalities in a sealed pool of Welcome to Wraith once, and one purely off of that, of just being able to cycle those cards over and over and fatigue my opponent. But... Dante Delfico says basically red Sink Below. Defense reactions are pretty key. And I tend to lean on that as well. It's a pretty solid response. Keep going. Brendan Patrick also says Drone of Brutality again. With Drone of Brutality actually bleeds itself well into a lot of these responses. Tyler Horsepool is on Heartened Crossstrap. Tyler Horsepool again winning Las Vegas Calling. And let me see if I can find one more. I want to see what Tarek mentioned. Tarek suggested, where is it? Sink Below Red. So defense reactions getting a lot of love here, and it's a common theme, I feel, with this survey that we did.
Yeah, I think those are great choices. Sink Below is one of the ones that I was actually thinking about, but I like to play fast and loose. I like to play pretty aggressive. So I'm like, no, I want the attack. I don't want the defense. I want the attack. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. I guess a part of this also just kind of leans towards your play style. Blocking for 4, mind you, is a nice feeling to have, especially when you can kind of surprise someone over the top and cycle your hand there. But not bad. I mean, what we've seen essentially, Kel, here is the fact that there's people who lean towards defense reactions being very important, and the defensive elements of fatigue potentially with Drone of Brutality. But we're gonna sort of toss Drone out the window. So
Drone is so unfun to play against. I'm just gonna say, it's so unfun. I'm actually really glad that it got banned fairly early in Flesh and Blood's life, because if you played against a drone or someone with like 2 drones in like draft, it is so unfun. Like, yeah.
My only excursion into Welcome to Wraith Limited was a sealed that I played at Manta Gaming in the Toronto region, and it was quite unique because they opened like a bunch of boxes and they basically shuffled all the packs. So one person opened their 6 packs. They got 2 legendaries and an E-Strike. And I was like, what chance do I have? Like, this is just the worst. I ended up opening 2 Drones of Brutality and winning that tournament, going 4-0 in that armory and winning a cold foil shiver because of Drone of Brutality. And it was one of those situations, once they saw it, they're like, oh, okay, well, it's over. Like, we can't.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. So, all right, next up, ladies and gentlemen, the next question was not including Majestic Rarity. What is your pack 1 pick 1? What is your pack 1 pick 1 with Majestics included, Kel?
I think I chose an easy one. I think I chose Enlightened Strike, because for the same reasons that I chose Scar for a Scar, it keeps you open. It's a very powerful card. It can go in literally any deck that you want to play with. It blocks well if you have to block with it, but it's just an all-around like solid, great card, and it's worth a little bit of money too, but that's not really, I didn't factor that into it. It was mostly just from like, keeps you open, and it's just very, very powerful.
Yeah, great choice. So that seems to be basically what everyone else was selecting. If it wasn't Drone of Brutality, I mean, Enlightened Strike in the Majestic category in terms of having an option for it is tremendous, an absolutely big time pick, and for all the reasons that you're saying. Number one, it keeps you open, and that I feel is such an important element to drafting any class, frankly, is that if you can find value while not necessarily painting yourself into a particular corner, something like Enlightened Strike can do it all. It could go tall, and it can create a wide situation as well, or it can replenish your hand if necessary. It can kind of cycle things out. So Enlightened Strike is what I also selected, and it seems to be also the flavor of a lot of the pros. Dante Delfico again, world-class player. Enlightened Strike is the selection there. Beyond that, some more names coming in. Brendan Patrick again selects Drone of Brutality, because he asked me, and I said yeah, it's basically. I should have been clearer, but Tyler Horsepool, Enlightened Strike. Tarek Patel, Enlightened Strike. Everybody's running on E-Strike. So if there's the only kind of I think Demos selected Crippling Crush in that regard, which is fascinating. But in what scenarios, perhaps, are you maybe, I don't want to say passing on Enlightened Strike, but is there ever a scenario where you'd pick something over the top of Enlightened Strike?
Maybe if there was a legendary in the back as well. Maybe it was like E-Strike and a legendary. I would consider the legendary. That's maybe the only situation I would take it. Any other situation, I'd probably snap take it. Even if it wasn't like pack 1, pick 1. Even if it was like pack 2 or pack 3, I'd probably just pick it. There might be better cards for specific classes, right? So like if you're playing Warrior, then like Glint the Quicksilver might be better, but it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, I think. Yeah,
it's hard to say because it fits so nicely into so many different deck styles. So passing on it, it has to be like you mentioned, like you found some real naughtiness in the back. Like for instance, you know those magical packs you get where your foil card is also majestic, so you have this choice to make between the two.
Yeah.
So I guess perhaps like a very strong class specific majestic that just fits so nicely late into your selection process might unearth or uproot Enlightened Strike being the number one choice for everybody. But the writing's on the wall. The pros, the casuals, and the loudmouths, like you and I, basically have all agreed that Enlightened Strike seems to be the hottest flavor that you can possibly draft out of Welcome to Wrath. That isn't like a tectonic plating or a Mask of Momentum, let's say. So.
Yeah, Mask is gross. I will say I have actually had the distinct pleasure of playing with Enlightened Strike in Limited, and it is as good as everyone thinks it is. It's great.
Yeah, no secrets here. We're not here to kind of just bust open something or Sherlock our way into breaking a format that has already been in existence for 2 or 3 years now. But yeah, there it is. All right, question number 3. Again, what is the most overrated card to draft? And this one is probably the most all over the board because a lot of people just have their own flavor, and a lot of people just feel they've kind of targeted types of cards, not necessarily specific cards. I wanted a specific card, but what I got instead was people selecting saying like this, but most instances of this. What was your answer for the most overrated card to draft in WTR?
So mine was a very general answer, I think, if I remember right. I'm going to try to think what it was. I think it was something along the lines of class-specific cards just in general, but like class-specific class-specific majestics that marry you to that class, and that basically, how do I want to word this? I approach it from like a pack 1 perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Not just like a pack 2 or pack 3, because once you get to pack 2 or pack 3, and if you're already settled into what you're doing and you're not in a situation where you have to pivot, then it becomes a lot clearer, like what things are better to take and what things are better to avoid. But in pack 1, it's much more nebulous, and I think it's more dangerous to pick some like middle level like majestics, like class majestics or super rares that might force you into being like, oh, I have to play Guardian now because I pulled the Spinal Crush or whatever.
Yeah.
Where it might not be the right choice. And a card like Spinal Crush is good, but it might, it's not going to win you the game by itself. And if the draft is going such a way where you should really pivot to another class, I think that's like the biggest danger, right? Because you're like, oh, this card's cool, I want to play it, and then you're like, I'm going to force this, even in the situation when you might not, you should pivot. So.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. Again, marrying yourself to one particular strategy, it's like opening that first pack and seeing like Lord of Wind, whereas the amount of ingredients you need for that recipe prior to that finishing touch it's quite cumbersome. Like that entire strategy, it's a very sexy concept to say I'm going to go all the way to Lord of Wind Station. But the one time that I played Limited for WTR was that sealed, and I managed to I didn't find a Lord of Wind, but I found a Magenshi, but I had all the pieces prior to that, so I thought that I'm like, you know what, this is actually worthwhile, and we did it. We went the whole way down to Magenshi, right. But there's no threat at Magenshi, right? So and for that, it was a matter of literally I knew all my options, so I could weigh the pros and cons. When you're doing draft, I feel like there needs to be a lot more discipline in terms of just kind of subduing those grand expectations you have of those big turns where in your mind you're thinking, well, I'm probably going to get a Surging Strike and I'm probably going to get a Whelming Gust Wave, and my game tech says that I can go fish something out, so how can I go wrong drafting Lord of Wind? Well, it seems like it can be problematic. So I like that idea of staying open, and it's a common theme from a lot of the responses that I got with this survey. And we're going to get through it a little bit more. I said Unmovable, specifically that one card. I got some people who agreed with me. Dante Delfico also said Unmovable. Tommy Fresh from the Fresh and Buds podcast said Unmovable. But there were some fascinating thoughts as well. For me, I thought unmovable because you had to pay for the defense, and oftentimes it's a cumbersome ask to have the blue to pay for it to make a big block, whereas you're blocking with 2 anyways, and if you're drafting an unmovable, maybe the unmovable is only blocking for 5 or 6 anyways, so why not just toss 2 cards to block it? But I get it. It's like it's such an odd and cumbersome defense reaction that I feel sometimes you get trapped into it, because even if you have it in your arsenal, you're not always guaranteed that you'll have an opportunity to use it, and then it's just plugging that hole that you could use down the line. What are your thoughts on unmovable? Where do you typically draft that card?
Probably pretty late, actually, for a lot of the reasons you said, but also because, like, just in general in draft, so it's a good card in like constructed, because you can block these really, really big, powerful attacks that your opponent is setting up. And you can just, in a constructed deck, you can plan for that and play around that. But in limited, you might have like maybe 1 or 2 unmovables. And if your opponent is playing like Ninja, then your unmovable is not going to do a ton. And even in like the best case scenario, it would be like what? Unmovable in Arsenal versus Bravo, who is dominating a big attack on you. That's like the best case scenario. But like the middling scenario is like you said, you're wasting 2 cards. If you have that's if you have a blue and this card. If you don't have a blue and this card, then you're wasting more than 2 cards.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like it's expensive to play. Basically, it's expensive to play. It takes up a slot in your deck, and like you said, you can just block with 2 cards. One thing that should be of note for Welcome to Wraith, most cards in the set block for 3, which is not true for the newer sets, right? For like Monarch and Tales of Aria, a lot of cards block for 2. In Welcome to Wraith, a lot of the cards actually block for 3. So just having 2 3-block cards that you just block does the work of unmovable. I think the downside of that would then be, of course, then in fatigue scenarios, you're burning through cards quicker. But I agree. I do think it might be a little bit overrated.
Drafting unmovable to me feels kind of like I don't know if you ever watched those Adam West Batmans where he always seems to have the right suit on, where he's just like, oh, I have this shark repellent, this bat shark repellent spray, or I have like this, we're fighting Mr. Freeze, I have this like super thermal spandex guy suit on or something. To me, putting unmovable in your list is kind of especially in a limited list, is kind of like you're worried about these really tough to nail down scenarios that are hard for your opponent to pull off. So you're preparing for a small percentage of an outcome. Whereas if I was doing a constructed, I might put a red unmovable in my IRA list because I know there's a lot of people who are running Bravo or a lot of people who are running, let's say, Dorinthia, and I need that big over-the-top blocking because that's within my own sort of regional meta. But it seems to me like unmovable is just being worried about a boogeyman that it might not be there and then overpaying for that insurance kind of thing. I hope you get what I'm saying here. It's
especially the red unmovable, because at least the blue one, if you're running the blue one, which is my favorite unmovable, at least if you're running the blue one, you can use it for resources. Mm-hmm. But if you're running the red, then you're kind of stuck. Yeah,
you're running the red because you're afraid of Crippling Crush, right? Like that's kind of how it is, and then Pummel just beats the crap out of you anyways. But
yeah, exactly.
So it's just like, hello. Hilarious. Part of some of the other responses I got, Tyler Horsebill says Guardian cards in general overrated, basically saying that it is the weakest class. It has a high floor but a very low ceiling, meaning you have to depend on others not to draft it, and you need a busted deck to win. So that is a little bit of a hot take right there, just in general, because some other people were saying just go for Bravo, because drafting Bravo seems like the easiest way to have a decent deck. Some of the other responses that we got that were quite intriguing. DM Armada, a good Stephen Cookus says, there's no overrated cards. The set, everything in the set is good. And I call foul on DM Armada.
That is such a DM Armada answer.
Oh, for sure. Because The one time I did do draft was a casual draft after Nationals. We were all at the hotel and we busted open a box that Armada had and we're playing. But there was like a 4-person pod, so everybody just had this unspoken agreement of just drafting whatever hero that they wanted. And that's which was hilarious. I was like, all right, all I need is a Mask of Momentum. And then the person across from me opened Mask of Momentum and had to pass it because they weren't on Ninja. Yeah. So it was like the most busted ass deck I've ever played. But yeah, Armada. Thank you for that very precise answer, Ed. All right. What else we got here? Question number 4, Mr. Red Zone Rogue, was what hero is your ideal choice to draft? And what's fascinating about this is that this is the first set. A lot of people's introduction to the game will be with this set. So I think that those intimate bonds that players have with particular heroes is strongest with this set. And sometimes the answers that I want to give are not necessarily the proper answers. For instance, I said Katsu because it was the first hero I learned, and it was the first hero I bought and built around, and it was the first hero I won a tournament with. So I said, it's got to be Katsu because, you know, when in reality, if I were to actually think that, you know, sit there and think, I might say Brute. I might say that just big smashy things might be the best option.
Yeah. Yeah, what I'm about to say, I said at the top of the show, Warrior is my favorite class from this set, but I honestly think that it is not super easy to build in Limited. I think Brute is probably the best one. Mm-hmm. The easiest one to build and also the most powerful if you can build it even better. I said Brute and Guardian. I think those two are the easiest to do because all you need to do is you need to draft some high pitch cards and a bunch of big smashy stuff. And they both have built-in ways to push damage through. Bravo has Dominate on his hero, and Reinar has Intimidate on his hero. So they have built-in ways to push through damage, and you can just draft a bunch of high damaging stuff. The best I've ever done in Welcome to Wraith Limited, both sealed and draft, are with Reinar, which is funny because Brute is one of my worst classes to play with. And so, like, at least in Constructed, and if it's like my worst class to play with, but I seem to like do very well in Limited, that leads me to believe that it's probably just really, really good in Limited, especially if you can get a lot of Intimidates. Even if your opponent has like defense reactions and stuff, if you can do like barraging beatdown, even if you have like multiples, it's disgusting. Like barraging, and then something huge, and then they have like nothing to block with. Yeah. So I think Brute is very, very good, and Bravo's up there too, just because he has built-in Dominate.
You were there at that table when we were drafting with DM Armada, and it was funny because, again, we were all sitting around each other, and I opened the first pack we opened. I was like, I know nothing of Brute, and I think I had a Brute Majestic in there, and I was like, I don't remember what it was that I passed you, but I passed you a really good card, and the reason why was because I think I took a red Whelming Gust Wave. I'm like, I don't care. I'm just playing Ninja, and that's all I freaking care about. So I passed you like these really good cards. Or no, I think I took, it was that, or like it was actually a red Scar for a Scar or something. But then we played. You and I played against each other, and it was like Mask of Momentum. You're looking at me. I remember we were playing that game, and you're like, everything's different because you have Mask. I'm like, yes, it is. It is.
Oh, it's so gross. It makes the Kodachis like so much more threatening because otherwise I would just be like, whatever, I take it. It doesn't matter. But letting you draw a card really, really matters. And the card you passed me was Blood Rush Bellow, by the way.
Yeah. I was like, well, I mean, there's always that strategy of, value drafting or rare drafting because the cards inherently have a monetary value associated to them. But all the cards went back to Armada. It was his box. So it's like, it didn't matter to me. I was like, take it. I just want to play my Ninja. And it worked out. It actually worked out well. I like the thought process there. It's actually quite decent, and it echoes a lot of the responses that we got from other players, mainly being the fact that marrying yourself to a particular strategy and that strategy having a lot of moving pieces can be detrimental because you might have everything, but if it's like you have the wood, you have the hot dogs, the meat's ready to go, but if you don't have a spark, you're basically just not doing anything with it, like the barbecue's gonna suck. So if you don't have that initial flame, that initial spark, and for heroes like Ninja, especially, those combo lines, you're gonna find leg taps and you might find rising knee thrusts, but how are you rounding that out? And how is that better than one attack that does 7 if you're doing like a 3 and a 4, right? I get it. You know, it's harder for them to block, but at the same time, you know, you're using 2 cards in a very limited deck or amount of cards you have. Having something that is just, I don't want to say autopilot, but having something that is just pedal to the metal, full throttle, big smashy stuff could be a great tip for newer or less seasoned WTR players. You have to basically just simplify, right? Like when you're playing in limited and you don't know what's coming your way, simplification is so clutch.
Yeah, it's super risky, I think, to go for draft in particular. Seals is a whole other thing, but for like draft, it's pretty risky to go into Ninja and Warrior because you need specific cards to make them work really well. And if you can pull them off, I think they're really, really strong, especially like Warrior. But like for Warrior, for example, you need specifically cards that give your weapon go again, so you can really maximize on that and actually make use of Dorinthia's hero ability. And if you're not doing that, then like might as well just be swinging with your romping club for 6 or whatever, like so. And then the ninja is the same thing, but like even more complicated, like getting those combo lines, making use of Katsu's hero ability, a lot more moving pieces with ninja. I think ninja is probably the hardest to draft.
There's a lot of love for Katsu in terms of ideal hero to draft. Katsu's getting a lot of love, but Bravo also has its fair share, mainly. A lot of the thought process here, for instance, from Liam Holden, a player from the UK, says Bravo can easily pick up the blues to make sure he can pay for what red attacks, and he can 5 good defensive cards all around as well. Not to mention, there was also, I believe it was Kane W, who replied to the survey as well, mentioning the fact that Bravo with the dominated ability is just kind of a guaranteed way to actually just, punch through for damage, to be able to penetrate through the defenses to actually connect for damage. And in a format where the life totals are 20, being able to have that at your disposal is quite important as well. So Bravo getting a significant amount of love in terms of favorite heroes. What else we got here? Just trying to look at some of the other responses. Again, more Katsu fandom as well. But the last question that was asked is, what's your best tip and strategy for drafting Welcome to Wraith? And I mean, this can also kind of be a little bit more of an umbrella question, Kel, because frankly, the drafting strategies in general, you can be very broad with your answer here because it'll kind of, those broad strokes will go ahead and touch upon Arcane. It'll touch upon Tales of Aria, Monarch, and everything else afterwards. But specifically for WTR, I want to know what your drafting strategy is for those who are saying, this might be my first draft. And yeah, I know what cards to look out for, but if I don't find those cards, what should I be doing? What kind of direction? What's the compass I should be consulting?
Yeah, so I kind of touched upon this with my other answers, but I think it's just best to stay open. There's a lot of really, really powerful generic cards in Welcome to Wraith, and it's pretty easy to stay open, and you can better read signals that way, especially if you're not a seasoned drafter, and it's not as easy to pinpoint the the way the drafts are going. I'm decently good at it, not to like toot my own horn, but I remember what the after party that Flake was talking about. I think before Flake got that, we were doing a Tales of Aria draft, like a full on draft, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like a six person pod, and I looked at Steve, and he was two seats to my left, and I just looked at him, and I did the whole like Philip Fry glare at him. I just looked at him, and I said Earth Oldhim. And he's like, no. And then after the draft, I was like, were you Earth Oldhim? And he's like, yeah, I was. And I was like, I could just tell by the way like things were getting passed to me and things that got dried up. And those are things that you just pick up pick up over time. But if you want to get better at those, just staying open is a really good strategy. And it's something that I like to do just in general. So sometimes I like to be greedy. It depends on my mood. I'll be like, I want to be greedy. So, if someone passed me like a Glint the Quicksilver, I'm like, I don't care. I'm going Warrior. I'm forcing Warrior, even though is probably not not the right choice. But yeah, lots of generics are really, really strong. So don't feel bad. A couple picks down the line, if you haven't, solidified which hero you're playing. If you're doing something like, you pick like a Hardened Cross Strap, you pick like a Scar for a Scar and a Sink Below, I would be so happy with like those picks, even though I haven't like settled in a class yet. And I think that's probably the biggest advice that I could give. And also, don't get married. Like, don't do what I just said.
Don't get married at all, ever.
Yeah,
in general.
Don't get married. Yeah, but don't get married to your picks, right? Because if you pick something really spicy, pack one. This is the biggest danger in any card game, right? Just for drafting. If you pick something super spicy, pack one, right? You open up like a sweet hero specialization or something like that, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. This is exactly what I want. I got my Crippling Crush, and then you get past like no good Guardian cards or no blues or whatever, and you're like, I don't care, I'm playing this Crippling Crush. That's a good way to lose your draft. That's like the easiest way to lose your draft. So learning to pivot and to, I don't want to say take your L's with your picks, but you're not going to run all the spicy stuff that you pull. And so I think that's important to realize.
And the responses I got echo that exact mentality. Is the fact that A, don't get married, and B, don't get married to particular strategies. No, I'm kidding. Do what you want. I don't take relationship advice from card players, please. We operate with mulligans and stuff, so it's like, yeah, we should not be relied upon for proper relationship advice. But a lot of the responses I got was along those lines of Tarek Patel, a U.S. Nationals champion, says basically don't be afraid to pivot after one entire pack. Entire pack. You can go ahead and switch your mentality and your strategy, and that's perfectly fine. Reading the signs was also another major hint and tip that was given by a lot of these respondents as well. Mainly being the fact that being able to stay open, I think, is quite important. Drafting those generics and being able to read the signs that are coming your way. And what is very special, Kel, about these packs is that you basically know not necessarily what cards specifically you're getting, but what classes you're getting, right?
Yeah.
So if you're past the card and you know what's missing, you can start to read the signs, and you can, if you have that mental acuity to be able to keep track of saying, okay, the second pack of cards that I'm being passed is from that player, and these two are missing. And from the first pack, there was missing a Guardian card, and now the second pack, I have no Guardian cards in here, so I could suspect that the person to my right is picking a Guardian, yada, 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 and go on and so forth. That is a skill that needs to be developed and understood. But if we're going to paint that in a very basic stroke, it would basically be, just stay wide open. Generics are your friends. Equipment is important. I got this response from David Rude, a solid Magic player who knocked me out of ProQuest from in Canada. Yeah, very awesome dude from Harry Tarantula, a store in Toronto. Says equipments are like cheating. Draft them super high. I have to agree with that.
Equipments are good. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it in Tales of Aria, just you and I casting certain matches and seeing how this happens. The players who are able to find like a deep blue or something along those lines typically have such an easier time in terms of having stretching out value out of even like a Rotten Old Buckler has saved the day, right? So I think that's clutch. The Attack Action Podcast says draft decks, not cards. I like that answer.
I mean that's a good answer. It's a kind of answer that I'm not sure how helpful it will be to someone who's brand new.
It's like a bumper sticker.
What does that even mean? Yeah.
Like for us, I get what it means. It means you're drafting. You want to essentially evaluate cards for how they're going to synergize with what you have already. It's not necessarily like this is the best attack I have, but it's a red. How many reds do I have? Do I have the resources to pay for it, etc.? You want to draft your deck and not your card. I know, because the response here will make a great bumper sticker. Draft decks, not cards. It's like, or on a t-shirt. I would love to have that on a t-shirt, but at the same time, like if we're going to give a little context to it, that's what that means. But yeah, that's basically this survey that we put out there in terms of helping you, the listener, to prepare for the Farewell to Wraith draft tournament. Are you going to be participating in those?
I would love to if I have the time. I've already talked to some local game stores and gotten their times and stuff. We'll see. I hope so. I really want to. I really do want to. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. The prizes are awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be sweet, and it's a really fun set. And it's like I don't want to say it's a not complicated set, but if you're used to drafting stuff like Monarch and Aria, drafting a set with no talents is it's different and a lot of fun. So I recommend it.
There's no elements, there's no light or shadow to kind of throw you off, or Rune Blade. There's no arcane damage at all in this set.
Oh god, it's very pure. It's like the purest form of Flesh and Blood. So if you just want like that, then Welcome to Wraith is what you should do. Also, it's just great. It's just really good.
It is a great set, and you can go ahead and check it out at fabtcg.com to find out. Use the event locator. Find out if there's if there's tickets left. These ones went like hotcakes, ladies and gentlemen. But if you want to go ahead, check out the Farewell to Wraith draft event. The prizes are obscene. Cold foils, things along those lines. I believe there's even is there a gold foil, or is that for the ProQuest?
I think that's for the ProQuest.
Yeah, I think it's for the ProQuest. Maybe I'm incorrect here. Nonetheless, the grand prize, frankly, is a sealed box of Wraith.
Worth like several $1,000s or something,
easy.
Nothing much. Yeah.
Easy. All right. We're going to be back, ladies and gentlemen, because we want to dig into some of these cryptic messages that were basically dropped on us over the course of a couple days here. Today being January 17th. Monday, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what LSS dropped us in terms of hints for what is coming for Everfest. Right after these messages from fabdb.net. Yes, go to www.fabdb.net to upgrade your account and get all that access to some awesome deck building resources. We'll see you in just a second. Oh, baby, it's time to get rip-roaring and ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes, because ProQuest is coming February 19th through March 13th. Are your dreams of being a pro card player just haunting you? You can't sleep. You want to improve your game. Go to www.fabdb.net. Upgrade your account, because there is no better place to find resources and tools to up your game. Collection management, booster simulations, and drafting. How about sealed practice? Get it all done at www.fabdb.net. I promise, if you upgrade that account, you are not going to be disappointed. All right, welcome back. We're going to forego the Go Again segment that we typically do after the break here, where we kind of pepper our guests with rapid-fire questions. Frankly, now that we know that Phasmatis is a thing, we don't need to ask Red Zone Rogue anything else about his personal life until he releases his album. We're all
the
waiting.
Fact that you remember that and the name is impressive, I will say.
I am still waiting for the collaboration between yourself, between Garbage Andy's band called Threat Display. Stephen Cook is also a minstrel of sorts, and then there's me with my big mouth. I'm waiting for the four of us to just get together and create.
You could be the lead singer.
I would love to. I am a karaoke whore, so I'm qualifying that with karaoke whore, not your typical run-of-the-mill whore.
Putting that on your Twitter profile.
Damn right. Tinder, here we go. All right. So we want to dive into some of these cryptic messages, basically that Flesh and Blood's Twitter account has been dropping on us lately. As of right now, again, like I said, January 17th at about 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have three cryptic messages left by him. I want to know what your thoughts are immediately looking into these. The first one that they dropped was basically a message that says, first of all, they started with like a dash, which is to me already getting my Sherlock Holmes kind of brain tickles going.
Yeah. So This is something that Flesh and Blood and Legend Story Studios did a few sets ago. I think the last set they did this with was Crucible of War, and they did this with Arcane Rising too. And I'm so glad they brought it back. Like these little cryptic teaser kind of things, and they're just like little hints at what is going to be in the set, and they're a ton of fun. I really love that they're doing this. So the one that you're alluding to, the first one, right, is the one that says a card type that hasn't previously existed for its class.
That is correct. Now,
Yeah, so
I mean,
that one.
You're a better
go ahead.
historian of the game than I am. So when it comes down to what has not existed for particular classes, I can't just off the top of my head say wizard attack action, which I believe is a proper So
Yeah, that would work.
So what else is out there? You are a very, very knowledgeable Flesh and Blood player and personality. I want to know what initially came to your mind. You are one hell of a resource pool here.
Yeah, so a lot of classes. So one of the first things, a lot of classes don't have items. Some of them do, like Mechanologist, but most of them don't. So any item of any sort would be really interesting, whether it be like a class specific potion or bomb or something. I don't know what they could do. Like I was thinking, like a little, sneaky, like the little black bomb with the wick on the top. That's the the old school kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Then what else is there? Many classes don't have class instance, so that's another thing that could possibly happen. What are the other ones off the top of my head? Some classes, do all classes have defense reactions? I think all classes might have defense reactions.
I believe so. I was kind of just thinking about it, and a lot of them typically do.
Attack reactions. Not all classes have that. So like Ranger doesn't have attack reactions. So I mean that could be another one. Like it'd be like some of them would be really funny. Like a Guardian attack reaction would be really fun. I don't even know how that would like look. It'd probably look something like Pummel, which would be gross. So yeah, I think it could be. It's really interesting. I think there's a lot of spaces for them to play with. For me, like the most spicy one would be something weird, like an item, right? Like a Ranger item or something like that. Would be really interesting and really fun. What about you? What did you think about this one?
This one really, again, like I said, just not necessarily knowing in intimate detail what is missing from particular classes. The first one that came to mind, obviously, was a wizard attack action, and I think that's a lot of people. Yeah. What is it?
I just thought of one. Another one that a lot of people I know will be excited for. Maybe even you, because you really like ninja. I don't think there's a ninja non-attack action. I think they're all either attack actions or defense reactions. I don't think there's a ninja non-attack. Oh no, there are. There is. Never mind. I take that back because there's ancestral empowerment, right?
Ancestral is
or it's a reaction, isn't it?
That is an attack reaction. The +1 draw card. Yeah. But you're talking about something that you could just sort of non-attack action that you can just kind of jam in front of something, right? Or are you talking about just like an act? Yeah.
Yeah, and any sort of non-attack. It could be a lot of different stuff. Ninja seems to be like the class that tutors things, that lets you search your deck for stuff. So it could be like a tutory kind of effect, maybe like a knock the death whistle, but for ninja. So yeah, I think that could also be really, really exciting. Also, anything they do with Illusionist, I think is going to be really, really exciting too.
I figured it out. I totally figured it out.
What?
So picture this. It's a card. It's non-attack action. It's ninja. It's majestic. It's cost 0. It's your next ninja attack gains +3, and if it hits, you may search your card for a card with combo. So it gives you an additional tutor without having to flip a card out, right? Like so it's to basically use the Katsu ability to throw a 0 away to tutor something out. I think that would be kind of cool. And it's like called meditate or something, where you see Katsu kind of just like meditating before his attack, and then he sacisas you and then allows you to continue the sacisizing. I don't know.
I think that would be very good. I think that card would be very good.
I think it would be ridiculously good. Maybe +3 attack might be a little bit too much.
Even like at if it costs 0 to play, even a +1 that tutored on hit would be really good, I think.
Oh, for sure. Now we're in like Plunder Run territory, obviously.
Yeah.
Poor Plunder Run. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that or like a ninja chess piece. Like there's a lot of things that kind of I thought about. But you really kind of opened my eyes to some other things. Like the item one for me, when you said like the whole imagery of a bomb and the wick kind of just burning down, that in itself could be something like, okay, play. It's like imagine there was a legendary item that when you play it, it comes on board with like 10 counters, and there are ways to remove the counters. When the counter reaches 0, deal 10 damage to your opponent or something along those lines. Like it's not necessarily OTK, but in the same regard, it's like this looming impending doom that you have to. But who would kind of have that?
Well, I was thinking like for the bomb thing, like Ninja or Ranger could have stuff like that, because like in traditional like media, you've seen ninjas with like explosives and like poison gas and stuff. And I can also see Ranger having like a smoke bomb. Same with ninjas. Ninja could also have like a smoke bomb or something like that. Maybe the smoke bomb's like it's an item that you can activate as an instant to give attacks on the combat chain -1 or something like that.
I really kind of want to see some sort of like saboteur, espionage style assassin class or something like that, where you have these kinds of items like I know that I think you posted a list on your Twitter where it was just all items and potions and stuff, right?
That wasn't me, but
no, it wasn't. It was somebody, and I apologize for if I don't remember who it is. But DR Armada, I think, played in that a game against that kind of thing. But something along those lines, that a deck that just really operates off of, like you mentioned, smoke bombs and espionage and these kind of like shadowy using items to like plant bombs and win that way, could be a very fascinating class to sort of develop. But yeah, when it comes to it, I mean, this is a card with a type that hasn't been previously existed for its class. They could be kind of naughty here and just introduce a brand new class and say, well, here's the card for a class that's never been around. Like it's an attack action, haha. But I think that there are a lot of fascinating avenues that you can think about when it comes to that particular cryptic message dropped by FAB TCG Twitter.
I did post a deck list that had a bunch of potions in it. So that might be what you're thinking.
Yeah, that might have been it. That might have been it. Yeah, definitely.
It was my potion seller Cavdane multiplayer deck, or the deck is actually officially called "You Can't Handle My Potions. They're too strong for you." That's the name of the deck. That's the whole name of the deck.
I like it when the name of something is basically the description of it. It's like that's why I bartended for 5 years, and my favorite drinks were the ones where the name of the drink was the ingredients. I'll have a rum and Coke. Easy. I got it. Perfect. The ingredients are in the name. So next message that was posted by Flesh and Blood was a way to destroy your own equipment and weapons. That is the most recent one for us. Yeah.
The thing that jumps out to me first is weapons. And I'm like, wait, what? A way to destroy your weapon? Okay. First of all, why would you want to destroy your weapon? And second of all, what effect would even do this and make it beneficial, and then also like make you not die because you don't have a weapon? Like this is crazy to me, honestly. Like the equipment thing is fine, right? Your equipment gets destroyed all the time, but your weapon, unless you're playing Talishar, your weapon is like permanent. There's like no way to get rid of your weapon. So this one is very crazy.
Yeah, the thought processes that go through my mind when I'm thinking about this was, like you mentioned, there are already ways to destroy other equipments, right? There's a way to destroy items. Weapons seem to be basically the untouchable. You will always be able to lean on your weapon. So being able to destroy weapons, well, here it says a way to destroy your own weapons. So I think finding a way to destroy your opponent's weapon would just be nutty.
I mean, if you could destroy like Dorinthia's Dawnblade, it's like game over, right? They just can't do anything. So, I mean, but destroying your own is super interesting.
The way I'm picturing this is that perhaps they introduced some type of throwing knives. Like, you know how archers, rangers have they have their bow and they need to load an arrow. What if rather than arrows, you had some sort of throwing knife thing that you would destroy it to fire it, and then you'd have to find more somehow. So maybe there's it could be a situation where you're just, rather than having attack actions, you're kind of loading your opponent's your hero with weapons that then you have a chest piece or something that says destroy your weapon piece to deal, X amount of damage to your opponent, or what your weapon piece says something like when destroyed, deal 3 damage to your opponent, and then you have equipment that says when you destroy your weapon, it deals +1, or if it, stuff like that. Like, just that's kind of how I thought about it, was throwing knives, ninja stars. I don't know. I don't know all the. I'm not an armorer, so I don't know all the stuff and other types of weapons, but that's how I envisioned it, is that it's not a way that you're doing it, obviously not detrimentally. Who would play a card to destroy their own weapon unless there was benefit to it? But that could be one of the ways. In the same vein that you would reload an arrow to arsenal to fire it with Voltaire, you might need to reload your ninja stars or throwing knives and then have them destroyed with an attack action card or something like that.
So what just dawned on me while you were saying this, what I think would be awesome, I don't know the flavor of this, maybe it's like a transmute golem or something, where you turn your weapon into a golem, where it becomes like an iron golem or something, and then you have an ally. So I was thinking, like, what would actually make me want to destroy my weapon? Well, if I got an ally that could attack for free every turn, that would be cool. That would give me a reason to destroy my weapon. So, like, if you can somehow like transmute your weapon into like an ally.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. You have a strength potion, an energy potion, and a crazy brew. Destroy your hero ability or something says destroy 3 potions of different names and your weapon to summon like some like crazy like 9/9 that you can then attack with. But it takes I guess some sort of effort. But then again, like,
it takes 9 of your life as well.
Yeah, like, or you become that token. And
this is the alchemist class.
It's nutso. It's I like these ideas, but definitely fascinating. This one to me definitely was the one that sparked the most interest, because destroying equipment, been there, done that, seen it. Destroying weapons, that is a whole different terrain that needs to be explored and explained.
It's gotta be real spicy to warrant destroying your weapon. I mean, it just has to be.
No one's saying, don't need it, let's just do it. I mean, it could ultimately be the biggest sort of flex on your opponent, like the biggest BM of pot. Like, like, don't even need it, suck it.
Turn one Azalea, blow up my bow. Come at me.
Yeah, let's go. I'm playing the fatigue game, baby. Perfect. Yeah. Oh god. All right, last one that they've posted out there. I'm sure there's going to be more by the time that this hits the air on Wednesday. But Flesh and Blood's Twitter account at FABTCG has posted one new keyword that appears 4 times. So the most important element here is not necessarily the 4 times, but the fact that there is a new keyword coming.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm going to be very curious to see how this is implemented. I think the most interesting thing about this is, like, first of all, obviously we don't know what the keyword is or how it's going to be implemented, but there's a couple of ways they could do it, right? I think the most generic way is that it's just a keyword that appears on 4 random cards, like with no pattern. But what would be more interesting is if they appeared, on specific cards in somewhat of a pattern. So, right, maybe there's a new mechanic for a class. Maybe, illusionist or something gets a new mechanic, that, a new keyword. Or maybe there's a new class entirely that has like just a tiny little card pool with 4, with a new keyword. I think those are the most interesting cases for this little bit.
One new keyword coming 4 more times. I'm always interested in any time that they've essentially add extra layers to how cards interact. It's always fascinating. You need to keep things fresh, right? Like, is it going to be as impactful keyword as go again, let's say, or dominate, let's say? Perhaps not, but it's still a way for cards to be played in more fascinating ways. That's basically it. That's all, most of what we know for the brand new Everfest that's coming through. There have been some reveals that have occurred. There's continued to be more. Everfest, I believe, starts their official reveal campaign on January 24th. I have my card. I have peeked at it because I am weak. I'm sure that you have possibly done the same.
So, yeah, I mean, I've seen my card. And they've also given me a booster pack, so I've actually opened up my booster pack and filmed it already. So I've seen, at most, without spoiling anything, I've seen at most 11 cards from this set that no one else has seen yet. So
I was actually talking with Tannen because Tannen, Grace, and I both received our very awesome reveals. We got a beautiful playmat. We got our wonderful cold foil Icelander. We got our awesome reveal card. My reveal card is a cold foil. I can say that, which is awesome.
Okay.
However, we did not get a booster pack. Tannen and I have been commiserating privately amongst ourselves, happy for everyone else. Don't get me wrong, but we are there just saying, where is our booster pack? And I know that we're gonna get. I've pre-ordered like so many of them already, but I just wanted to feel the new pack. I wanted to have it in my hands. I wanted to sort of just rest it there. You, Mr. Kellen, have already opened it, and you know information that, it's insane. Okay. Without breaking NDAs, without throwing yourself off of out of good favor with LSS, what can you kind of tell us a little bit about it?
Well, the packs are really nice. I think the booster packs, the paper wrapping, are really good, and none of the cards that I opened up were damaged at all. So I hope that helps alleviate some folks' fears that the paper wrapping would like damage the cards or make it, less for collectors. That's like the biggest thing I could say. That's one of the things I was looking forward to the most, in terms of like the longevity of Flesh and Blood. Just if they want to continue doing the paper wrapping and the paper wrappers are really good, which I think they are. I was just really, really happy to see that, honestly. Also, I can tell you that I have no idea what the carnival slot is. Everyone's talking about like the carnival slot or whatever. At least from my pack, I don't know what it means, right? Like I don't know the stipulations of what. I know which card in my pack was that, but I don't know, like, I don't know, like, I'll have to open up a box basically to tell. With one sample size, it's like it was impossible for me to tell, at least. I will also say that I opened up a Majestic. So
one that we probably haven't seen, right?
Oh, it's a sweet one. People are gonna love it. The one that I opened up, and also my spoiler card is another one. People are really gonna love. So
there's so much hype. There's absolutely so much hype. I'm very, very excited for this. For all of those out there, make sure that you're tuned in to the plethora of amazing people who have cards to spoil. None as awesome as Kellen here, aka Red Zone Rogue. You are the man. I do sincerely appreciate you being on the show. I need to either up my game or start kissing a lot of ass to get the more packs my way.
To be fair to both you and Tannen, I think there's a whole bunch of other content creators who didn't get packs either.
I know. I'm
YouTubers and stuff, yeah.
Trust me, I am already beyond spoiled. So I thank LSS for the opportunity and the wonderful goodies that you sent my way. Tannen, by the way, is the one person whom I have all faith in their prediction of what the carnival slot is. And this doesn't give anything away, but based on the information that we know from, what we've received, what we surmised from what we've seen, Tannen's, I'll leave it on this, and you can kind of comment on this, and then we can kind of wrap things up. But Tannen's prediction was the fact that the carnival slot will be where potentially the reprints go, or that slot is going to be a wild card for either some sort of alternate art or reprint card. And within that slot, you have this grab bag of rarity elements. That's where the skull cap will be. That's where the other reprints will be, or otherwise it'll be alternate art of other nonsense or something else. Like that card that carnival slot will be something, but from alternate art, low quality reprint of alternate art of a bad card or common card, all the way up to reprint of something like Skullcap. That is his analysis and his prediction. It is what I seem to not find any fault in everywhere I look and what I've read and what I've seen. I feel like that is correct. And beyond that, that's what I've got for that.
Yeah, like a couple weeks ago, I put out my official prediction video. I didn't talk about the carnival slot in that video, and the video before that one, I think it's called Let's Talk About Everfest. I talk about what I think the carnival slot is going to be, and basically what I said in that video is I thought it would be it could be a slot for exactly what you said that Tannen thinks, a slot for alternate art stuff. I don't know what to think about it. Like I said, just from opening my pack, I couldn't tell what it was. So maybe that says too much, but I think it's going to be very interesting either way. To be honest, it's going to be really fun to open them up. I know some people got entire booster boxes to open, so that'll be really exciting. But I think what's really awesome also is that the spoiler season is fairly short. It's only a week long, right? Mm-hmm. I think it ends on the 29th or the 30th or something like that.
It might even be short. It's the 24th to maybe the 28th. I think it's actually very short. It's 5 days or something like that. I could be wrong, but something.
All I know is that they said I need to show my booster pack opening on the 29th. So my pack opening is on the 29th, and then the set comes out the next Friday. It comes out on the 4th.
Yeah.
So there's only a week period between the spoilers and actually getting the stuff. So it's going to be really cool. It's not one of those things where there's the preview season and you have to wait a month. It's just a week. So it's going to be really exciting. And LSS, there's going to be a lot of packs open and a lot of people, a couple people opening up booster boxes. But I think there's going to be a chance that we see stuff in the set that, when you open it up on release day or whatever, I think there's a good chance you see stuff you haven't seen before, is what I'm trying to get at.
Damn right. Take for that what you will. The cryptic messages from FAB TCG's Twitter, all the way to the cryptic messages from our good friend Kellen, aka Red Zone Rogue. My man, thank you so much again for doing the show. You are one of my favorite people, a kind soul. Please tell everyone where they can get all of your amazing Flesh and Blood content.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It's always a joy to come on here and talk with you. It's just at Red Zone Rogue everywhere. So youtube.com/Red Zone Rogue, Twitter, or at Red Zone Rogue on Twitter. Same with Instagram and Facebook. You got to stay on brand. So it's just Red Zone Rogue everywhere.
Sounds good. I am still hunting down the guy who has Flake as their Twitch and their Twitter. Haven't posted or done anything in years, but still, they monopolize my entire brand. I love you, man. Thank you very much. And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Instant Speed podcast. Be kind to yourselves. Please take care of your mental health. It's so important. We'll talk soon. What did I say? I'm already lost. What do I usually say when I end these things? Oh, right. You're not losing if you're learning. So keep playing cards. You might win. We'll catch you next week on Instant Speed.